With the plethora of games released these days, it can be difficult to know what's out there. We're going to be talking about titles that may not eat the whole clock and chew up too much of your time, but instead, only take a bite. Shorter games are ideal for experimentation, and few genres are able to do this better than horror. Less time allows for the quick build-up and release of tension, while also allowing for things to get weird without becoming overly frustrating. Spending 10 hours wandering around dark hallways can get real old, real fast. But 10 minutes in those same hallways can get your mind racing about what else might be in there with you. These games can go to some strange and otherworldly places in that short time without becoming too overwhelming, and many are able to bring up more questions than they supply answers to, leaving you wondering just what in the world they were about. Here are some titles full of spooks, scares, and the surreal. Golden Light of Rose. Golden Light of Rose is a roguelike survival horror where you're trapped in a dark maze full of monsters made of meat. They hide within normal objects littered throughout the maze and have a nasty habit of punching you in the face when you least expect it. You can arm yourself, however, with a variety of weapons from scissors to a pistol, but they can be more useful than just to hit things with. Both weapons and side items can be eaten at any time for a little bit of health back. Get hit by a door? Eat a pipe. Get grabbed by a hand? Eat a gun! Get smacked by some otherworldly abomination? Eat the map that tells you where to go. Eating stuff could cause all kinds of effects to happen, be them negative or positive. You could poison yourself, or even light yourself on fire. So it's best not to down everything you can get your hands on as soon as you grab it. The main goal is to collect keys and unlock an elevator at the end of the level, and levels are randomly generated, so each run-through is a little bit different. Thankfully, dying only makes you restart the current level instead of the entire game, even though there are only 3 levels in total. Golden Light of Rose is a free standalone prequel to the main game Golden Light, so if you happen to enjoy your time running around a dark labyrinth full of meat monsters, there's more to be had for the right price. This Book is a Dungeon. This Book is a Dungeon is a choose-your-own-adventure style game created all by one person, and it really shows. The game is overall basic and presented mostly only as text on a white background, and is, by far, only for those with an active imagination. If you're someone who enjoys text-based adventure games in the style of Zork or The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, then you'll probably enjoy this one as well. It paints a world of terror and pain as you progress through a dungeon full of monsters and madness. There are, of course, many ways to end up dead. You could be eaten alive by a demon, or eaten alive by yourself. The quality of the game's writing is really the main draw here, despite gameplay limitations. There is a complete lack of music or sound effects, and images are few and far between, but the biggest problem is really the lack of saving. If you die, and you probably will, you gotta work your way back to where things started to go wrong and hope you make the correct decision this time. There's also some kind of archaic combat system where monsters can randomly appear. The only option is to either attack them or not, and it's far too bare bones to really be worth mentioning. Still, what the game lacks in convenience and mechanics, it more than makes up for with its writing of macabre locations and encroaching insanity. Death Park. Horror games that have players avoiding some immortal monster or a dime a dozen these days, and I don't really care for much of them. Death Park just so happens to be one of these titles, but it manages to be more entertaining than most. Being a port of a mobile game, it's not going to win any awards for its looks, but the general theme of a creepy flesh circus is well done enough. What makes this game work as well as it does is how open the main park area is compared to most games of this ilk. There's plenty of space to move around and avoid the evil clown creature that wants to kill you, making for some good cat and mouse encounters. Even in more cramped spaces, there's a decent amount of places to go and things to hide in, making deaths feel less tedious than they usually do in these types of games. You get a handful of lives per run-through of the game before you get to start everything from the top, and there are upgrades to purchase with in-game currency to help even the odds. There's also an underlying story to uncover as long as you can get past some awkwardly worded sentences, as it's rather obvious that the dev's first language is not English. The game is, however, currently bugged, where when I got caught with my last life by the clown creature, it just disappeared instead of killing me. Somehow, this game also managed to get a licensed tie-in and gives the option of replacing the normal clown monster with Pennywise from the It movies. I don't know how they managed to nab that deal, but if you're someone who likes these hide-and-seek horror games, then you can do a lot worse than Death Park. Critters for Sale. Critters for Sale is an homage to a time gone by. It presents itself as something from early 90s computing with its art style of compressed images and video presented in monochrome. This helps set the stage for what's to come, as it already gives everything a vibe of oddity. Narrative is the main focus as you follow 5 loosely connected stories. There's a lot to uncover if you look hard enough, and multiple endings for most of the so-called critters to unlock. Sometimes you'll come across a puzzle or two, but these are both rare and relatively simple. Popping in and out of each story to apply knowledge from one into another is a neat idea in theory, but it can be tedious if you get stuck in a spot and don't know what to do. It's a unique take on storytelling, and it's obvious the developer is big into music, not only with the game's soundtrack that matches its visuals to make a very surreal atmosphere, but also the inclusion of artists like Death Grips or even Michael Jackson, who become pivotal to the plot. While each were originally released on their own, all 5 stories come in one package these days, and it's definitely worth taking a look into if you want to experience something very weird. Iron Lung. Claustrophobia is an understatement when talking about Iron Lung. Cramming players into a tin can and dropping them into an ocean of blood on another planet is just the start of your troubles. The can in question is the titular Iron Lung, a small and outdated relic of a submarine plunged to the depths it was never designed for. Due to this, the one small window the machine had is sealed shut and you're welded in. The only way to drive the thing is navigating via X and Y coordinates you have to apply to a general map of the area yourself. Your task while down here? Well, you gotta photograph 9 specific locations. But you may not be alone in these bloody waters. Sounds and strangeness are prevalent all around the Iron Lung, and the farther you take it, the more it begins to fall apart. Trying to discern what these black and white grainy pictures actually are while not hitting anything and sinking is stressful enough in of itself, let alone with the sounds of straining metal and whatever else might be out there constantly pinging in your ears. And there you have it, a handful of titles with spooks, scares, and the surreal. Just enough to get a taste of the horrific and weird. Like most things, horror can be very subjective. Something that scares one person may not bother another at all, while other things can require a vivid imagination. Well, not all of these titles may be winners. Each is interesting enough to be worth talking about, and perhaps even try for yourself. As always, I've been MegapieMan. Let me know what you think of these games or this video in general, and I'll talk to you guys later. Want to see more of my stuff? Click on the video on the right for Chicken Police Painted Red, a noir detective game where you play as a chicken. Or click on the right for a look at Nightmare Reaper, a roguelike first-person shooter about killing your dreams.